Hi all, welcome to the final whistle for the match preview as Leicester City take on Cardiff City in the Championship. Sorry about the signal, just give me a second and I'll be back with you. Let me just change. Sorry about that. I do apologise. Welcome to the final whistle for the match preview. I'll be joined by Nathan from NWM YouTube. To apologise about the start, the bloody signal. You know what it's like when you bloody put things on and they don't really go as smooth as you want. But no, it's not a great start for a little blip, but we'll carry on. Guys, as always, hit the subscribe button, so hit the like button as well. Let's get this match preview underway. Let's see who's in. Renee's in. How are you, Renee? Hope you're good. Eddie's in as well. How are you, Eddie, mate? Callum's in. How are you, Callum? Quite a few of you watching. Let's get my guest in. Mr. NWM YouTube, Nathan. How are you, mate?
I am very well. Thank you very much for having me on, Jack. Can't wait for another great preview. Finally, just amazing to play Leicester once again. If you said it to me last season that we were playing you guys, it was either A, how on earth have you had so much of a disaster to get relegated, or B, how have we just made a miracle to get to the Premier League? So it's absolutely mad we're doing this preview, as I said, on a few other channels as well, and thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it. Tell everyone where they can find you, Nathan, on the YouTube and the socials, mate.
Yeah, so very simple. Just put NWM into the YouTube search. I do Cardiff City Moanfests, or I should say vlogs, predictions here and there on other channels and stuff. But there's my Twitter as well if you want to check it out.
Yep. Terrence, how are you, mate? How are you? Leicester for life. Jolly good evening. It will be. Welcome to the match preview, everyone. We're going to discuss Leicester City versus Cardiff City in the third game of the season. 2 games have already been played. Firstly, we're going to get to know the opposition. Nathan, talk to me about Cardiff. You had quite a lot of head coaches and whatever last season. You've now brought in Errol Bullitt. You've made some new signings in Grant from West Brom, Aaron Ramsey as well. You've obviously been talked about a transfer embargo at Cardiff City. How is everything going at Cardiff City?
The way I'll sort of describe it is it's a lot better than the last few seasons that in particular have been around the club, especially since we got relegated from the Premier League. So optimism among the fan base, in particular with certain players coming in. Aaron Ramsey, massive morale boost to the club, which we haven't had in so long, especially after the transfer embargoes, protests, all of the bad aroma around the club, in particular about the 5-6 managers that we have had since about 2021, which really just didn't have us as that consistency, where obviously we declined down the table. First time we got relegated, first season back in the Championship, finished in the playoffs, but ever since then it's been 8th, down to 18th, down to 21st, where in fact I know we did take the pedal off the gas a little bit at the end of last season. However, if Reading hadn't have had that points deduction, we would have got relegated, which is just absolutely crazy to say. However, bringing in Errol Bullitt, everyone knows my opinions on us getting rid of Sabri Lamouchi in particular after how much of a great season he had towards the end of last year, keeping us up as well. Obviously coming in from Turkey, Errol Bullitt, bit of an unknown name. However, he has guided some of the smaller Turkish teams into Europe. Also had a short spell at Galatasaray as well, where he had a fairly decent win record as well. Mind, there's always pressure, no matter if you support Galatasaray, Fenerbahce. I do apologise, I meant to say Fenerbahce for when Errol Bullock came from, or even Besiktas as well. They expect you to win the league every season, and he came out with a 60% win record, which is very, very good. And to be honest, with the way we started, I've been rather impressed with the way that we have conducted ourselves and the way we're controlling games. It might not be there yet, however, as time goes on and the more players that come in, even though we're only in a transfer embargo, still we're only allowed to sign frees, and how we can really progress it from there. And to be honest, it's just been down recently. However, the only way is up really at the moment, unless we get relegated, of course.
Talk to me about the first 2 games of the season. First game saga, aren't they, on and off the pitch? You played Leeds at the right time, you'd put it. I mean, Cardiff was seconds away from getting 3 points at Ellen Road. They ended up with a point, thanks to Somerville scoring seconds before the game ended. And then you moved on to Queen's Park Rangers. And then we talk about Cardiff and QPR. People have had them down for relegation this season, or even some having them to stay up. The defeat to QPR, I mean, how did that game go? I mean, there was a lot about Cardiff letting them have the ball and stuff like that. And QPR, they needed a response from that battering they got at the hands of Watford from the first game of the season. How do you, put both of them games together from the contrast of getting that point at Leeds to then that defeat at Queen's Park Rangers?
I'd probably say it was very similar in both requests. So if we take it between the first half and second half of both games, so minus the goals that we did not score against QPR, against Leeds, we started off like a house on fire. Yeah. They obviously had the majority of the ball. We were breaking them down so well on the counter-attack and playing it really fluidly forward, using the wide men, especially with the fullbacks, bringing in the likes of Callum O'Dowser and Perry NG into the game, overlapping into the likes of Colin Grant and obviously loan signing Josh Bowler. That's where I think we really sort of played well in that aspect, especially with the service. Ryan Wintle, who's been on the form of his life, in my opinion, and also Aaron Ramsey really adding that creativity, which we haven't seen in a long time. And then it's just with the second half, and I think what has massively cost us in both games, in particular against QPR, is that the goals have come from individual errors, which has been a massive problem for us the last couple of years. So you can have very good performances from certain individuals across the pitch, your Aaron Ramsey's, your Joe Rawls's, your Mark McGuinness's, who's just signed a 4-year contract today. And then you'll have very, very bizarre mistakes. So, for example, Callum O'Dowser and also Ibu Adams as well, having a complete miscommunication against QPR and letting Sinclair Armstrong score that first goal. Later on in the same game, Armstrong just absolutely went through Dimitris Gutas as he went in way too early, that leading to it 2-0 there. So really, and this has been a massive issue for us, if we can stamp out these individual errors, then we'll start to grind out these results, which we really do need. But if I'm honest, with probably the 20 million free bill that we've had in the last couple of years, I'm relatively happy with the way that we started this season.
Talk to me about Cardiff as a whole this season. I mean, what's your expectations for the Bluebirds?
Just with how dire the last couple of years have been, I will absolutely bite your hand off to stay up. But I would like us to see us push up the table a little bit and actually, win a big game. Just win a derby for once, which we haven't, aside from Bristol City, which we haven't seen in absolute years. I mean, I think it's an absolute disgrace, personally, how we haven't beaten Swansea in front of our own fans in 10 years. I mean, that's just appalling. But
Nathan, what's your thoughts on Leicester? Come down from the Premier League, relegated last season. Was it a shock to you that Leicester coming down? I mean, how much of a oomph is this for Cardiff to go and face teams like Leicester?
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, we have a great history as well with you guys, in particular in the last 10 to 15 years.
Bloody bogey team, you lot.
Absolutely. Of course, we had the Victor Camarasa goal a few years ago, Woldy outside the box, Peter Whittingham back in 2010, where we beat you guys in the playoffs. David Marshall saving the Panenka from Anthony Knockaert as well. We've had some great ties over the years, we've got to say. But really glad to see you guys, that we get to play you guys yet again. Just a shame that it's now in the Championship as well. But a game against Leicester is always fantastic. We'll always sell out your away end. You'll always sell out our away end. It's always a great atmosphere, and it's always an entertaining game as well. And with the way that you guys have started the season, in particular, with the likes of Drewsbury Hall and Mavadidi as well, what a great start to the season they've both had.
Yeah, I think you mean Kermaghan.
Apologies, Kermaghan. Yeah, every time I get those two confused.
Leicester fans don't like mentioning that name. Yeah, horrible. We'll get on to games in that later on, like all them other games in that. But yeah, first two games for Leicester, Huddersfield, we had to grind out the result, really. Huddersfield, you know, they're going to be giving it all there this season under Neil Warnock. It's a proper Neil Warnock side, isn't it? Defensively, they're in shape, and, you know, they're proper wanting really to give Leicester a game. Coventry as well, you know, yeah, they had chances, and then Leicester took advantage of Coventry's miss-hitters, should we call it. Yeah, 6 points from 6 for the Foxes. What's your initial thoughts on Maresca, Nathan?
Really impressed. I was quite surprised, actually, you did replace Dean Smith with him as well. I thought he was an absolutely ambitious but excellent appointment at the same time. Obviously, you have all the risks around there. However, coming up, learning from his mentor, Pep Guardiola, and crafting this squad and spending like Premier League amounts of money on players is just absolutely fantastic. I think Harry Winks, how on earth you signed him for the Championship is mental. Conor Cody, who's had experience at this level as well, and also back in the Premier League with Wolves. And when I will say when you guys do go back up to the Premier League, he is going to be a great asset for you guys to use in the following season as well. Mavadidi is another excellent signing, and I've been really impressed. The way you conducted yourself to get yourself back into the game against Coventry as well, when they had such a good start as well, is fantastic. And grinding out a victory against a Neil Warnock side in Huddersfield, who, yes, they haven't had a great start to the season, but you've got to grind them down, especially at home as well. When you guys went to the John Smith Stadium, able to grind them down and get that 1-0 victory. It's hard to come by, but got to say to you guys, fair play, and got a feeling you're going to be in those playoffs the majority of the season.
Yeah, I think with Leicester at the minute, we've not really got out of second gear, should we call it. We've not really clicked as of yet. Obviously, there's still a lot of players to leave and players to still come in. I just don't feel Leicester's going to click till after the transfer window. You know, I just think, you know, we've got to grind out these results. And what can Leicester expect in the Championship, Nathan? How much has it changed since Leicester was last in it in 13-14, mate?
It's changed massively. First of all, for starters, a lot more money is being spent. And I think, to be honest as well, it has become a lot more competitive. So, for example, back in the days when you had the likes of Leicester's, your Derbys, your Leeds, your Cardiffs, in particular us as well, when we were battling in the playoffs for every season. Nowadays, you can have, because of the way that FFP works and parachute payments, which have gone through the roof, you'll have a team that spends about 2 or 3 seasons really investing and fighting to go up. And then because the parachute payments have run out and FFP starts knocking on the door, the size, well, you got to add the likes of West Brom in there and stuff. They will then drop like a stone down the league, and then we'll have to wait a bit and slowly rebuild to push them back up. But it's sort of like an up and down escalator, as I call it, with the Championship. So unpredictable, and yeah, it's even more as entertaining now as it was back 10 years ago when you guys were winning the league, putting up fantastic playoff performances, in particular against us. I got to put it in there again. But yeah, most exciting league in the world, and glad to see you guys back.
I think Cardiff have a holdovers on that one. They'll never forget it. You know, like Watford fans, when they talk about the playoffs, it's that Deeney goal in it, you know. But like I say with Watford, you know, Watford never went on to get to the Premier League. That Kevin Phillips ended up scoring that penalty. So it just feels like that Deeney goal didn't mean nothing, really, did it? It was just a moment in football that happened quite drastically. You know, there's quite a lot of moments happen like that, don't they, in football? And I guess you just got to take it with a pinch of salt and move on as a Leicester fan. And we did. It made us more stronger coming back after that Watford defeat in the playoffs. And we ended up going to win the league. The young lad we just got on loan from Chelsea will play on Saturday. Cardiff, need to watch him. Do you know much about Cesare Casadei?
Not too much about him. I have read up, however, and I think he's an absolutely spectacular signing for that midfield. Good point as well.
Ross just digging his heels in. There we are.
You guys won the Premier League. We had our colours changed to red. Put it that way as a victory. I mean, everything happens for a reason, you know, especially with you guys losing that game. But yeah, that's a good comment, that is. But to be honest, absolutely cracking, another cracking signing, especially for your midfield as well. And I think he's going to be an absolute dangerous asset for you guys moving forward from what obviously I've seen.
Yep, agreed. Nathan, let's go on to Leicester versus Cardiff. A big game at the King Power, isn't it? These sides haven't met since Damari Gray scored that goal in the 1-0 win. Which it was a sad time being a Leicester fan at that point, obviously due to the death of the late Vishal Shribahana Papa. You know, we could have cancelled the game, but we decided not to. But yeah, what a moment for Damari Gray to score that goal at the Cardiff City Stadium. I mean, the owner at Cardiff, credit to him as well, the way he handled everything and all that. So I think we appreciate it as Foxes fans as well, the way the day panned out. But talk to me how things have changed since then for Cardiff City.
Well, you could probably categorise it into a number of ways. So obviously, this is my personal opinion and a lot of our fan bases as well. We were robbed getting relegated from the Premier League. We absolutely should not have gone down that season because of that Azpilicueta goal. And in fact, if we would have got those 3 points that day, which we absolutely would have, because we should have had 2 penalties as well, I got to add in that match, we would have got 3 more points, which would have been 1 more above Brighton. So we would have stayed up. Ever since then, Warnock had one of the disaster classes, just to keep it brief. Warnock had one of the disaster classes of all his life with his transfer window he was quickly out the door. Harris got us into the playoffs following season, complete capitulation, even though he built an absolutely spectacular squad for more and Harry Wilson as well. In comes Mick McCarthy, steady ship, but completely ruined us and had broke club records for the wrong reasons as well, with most consecutive losses. Drops down the table like a stone. Bring in Steve Morrison, who was our youth team manager. He stables the ship a little bit and gets us up the table. Was allowed to do a massive rebuild where he signed about 18, 19 players. Gets sacked for no reason in September. Club goes to the cheap option in Mark Hudson. That's where the problem started. Protests off the pitch. Lack of investment. Obviously, really sad stuff off the pitch as well. Transfer embargoes with the £109 million in debt, which we have as well. So it was really sour time. Then the club actually bring in Sabri Lamucci, who stables the ship. Then a bit more of a disaster class happened during the summer, where they let Lamucci go because they didn't like his vision and wouldn't back him. And then in comes Errol Bullitt, who they've had eyes on for a while. And to be fair to him, he's had a really good start, had the transfer window of his life, even though we can't sign a player, only on frees. And yeah, that's the Cardiff story and how different it was since the last time we played.
Yeah, quite a lot of changes. Leicester have won the Prem since then, the FA Cup. A lot's transpired, hasn't it, between both clubs? One's gone on the up and now back in the Championship. The other one, they don't know what's happening at the club, do they, regarding Cardiff? They've had so many managers over the last few seasons and, you know, you've not really stuck with the right one. It reminds me of Watford a bit, where Watford, you know, they'll bring a manager in, they're sacked after 6 months. You know, you're not guaranteed to stay at a job in football now. You know, you've only got to lose a few results and then the owner comes knocking and says, we ain't good enough for this job, see you later, bye, we'll get somebody else. And talk to me about, is it Ugbo, is it, the goal scorer? Yeah, talk to me about Ugbo. How much of a player will he be? How key will he be for Cardiff City this season?
He's going to be key, obviously, coming in on loan from Troyes in the French second division. Already got 3 goals in 3 games. Got to include the Carabao Cup tie as well. He's sort of a poacher striker, which isn't something that we've had in a long time, but in particular because of how much more creative we are being with your Aaron Ramseys, your Josh Bowlers, and also at times, I mean, he was terrible against QPR, but Carlon Grant as well. Really supplying the service in the box, rebounds off the keeper. He can hit it into the back of the net. And yeah, he's a real goal threat, especially in the final third. Had a great start to the season. And for me, he's an instant star to provide and he gets that service.
Yeah, agreed. Let's have a look at some stats, Nath. Cardiff City, head to head, table position second versus 17th. Wins 2 for Leicester, 1 draw for Cardiff, 1 defeat. Championship head to head stats, played 18, 4 wins for Leicester, 8 for Cardiff, 6 draws. How much of a good stat is that for being a Cardiff City fan, Nathan, to see that is quite significant for Cardiff in this stats-wise?
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, with that record, it sort of does go out of the window in a way, considering, well, when we both used to be regulars in the Championship back in the early 2010s, times have changed a lot, especially with what you guys have won, how you guys have progressed as a club, how in a certain way we can see we've regressed as well. And I think it's a completely different story. It may play into our advantage, especially with our good record at the King Power as well, which I can sort of say, but I probably just jinxed it and we'll lose 10-0 like I've seen in the comments. But I think it will play a little bit of a part where we might sneak a goal. In particular, we'll probably score a worldie, as we always end up doing, whether that's a volley, a free kick, a screamer outside the box from midfield. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, to be honest. I think either way, whichever way we've got to look at it, it's going to be an exciting game.
It will. Last 5 meetings at the King Power, 2018, you beat us 1-0. Victor Camarasa with a 90th minute goal. That was in the Claude Puel era at Leicester. I think that was the time after we beat Chelsea and Manchester City. And then we went to play Cardiff, and you know what happens there. Leicester beat the big teams, and then Cardiff come relegation candidates at that point. And you're thinking, for God's sake, man, it's always us. But Cardiff always seems to be that bogey team for Leicester, and it's always has been over the years. The 1-0 win in 2012 for Cardiff City, I think that was the goal from Craig Bellamy.
It was.
Was that the season you went up?
2012-13, it was indeed when we did win the league. Obviously,
I think we drew with you in the second game, didn't we?
You did, yes. I think that was towards the end of the season because we were pushing for the title at that time as well. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal season. Obviously remembered for all the wrong reasons, unfortunately for us. But either way, to win the championship can never be slept on. And what a season on the pitch it was.
Then we went to February 2012. We beat you 2-1. And then we went to 2010, another 2-1 win for Leicester. And then the 1-0, that's in the playoffs, I believe.
Famous 1-0.
When Peter Whittingham moved the ball forward, when the referee weren't looking, he kind of like moved the ball forward, cheated a little bit, and then bloody scored that banger. And, he tried it. The referee told him to get the ball back. And then he moved it forward again, and then man bloody scored, and I'm fuming. But we then went into the second leg where Matty Fryatt scored. King got one. That was an interesting game, wasn't it? The second leg. I mean, Michael Chopper put you ahead first. Leicester then responded. But then we bloody gave a silly bloody penalty away, man, at that point. I think it was Alex Bruce at that point gave away the penalty. We did end up scoring with Howard, Noberto Solano in that from the spot, but then bloody Comergan steps up and chips in. You're thinking, for God's sake, man. At that point, Nathan, it's the case of you don't want that man to take it. That man scored 1 goal all season. He was overweight. Let's be honest. He was always slightly overweight. That was a kind of like a thing back then for Leicester where we'd sign like different players like that stature, and then you're thinking, you don't want Kermagan taking a penalty. He scored a banger against Middlesbrough, I think, that season, and that was his only goal. And then he steps up against Cardiff, and man thinks he's Cantona. And then David Marshall was already on the floor at this point, and you're thinking, just put it in the top corner, man. Just put it in the top corner. And, he chips it, and then David Marshall somehow reflects it to bloody get back up and get it. And it's just like, oh, my God. And then Waggle missed the penalty after that, and then we end up losing, man. It's horrible.
Oh, absolutely was. And I believe that was the game as well. If I remember, I think it was the 1-0. Gabriel Capesh as well for us, getting sent off for that rugby tackle. If that sticks well in my mind as well. Just the most unbelievable thing you could ever do right outside the box as well. But yeah, those were good times for both the clubs. Really pushed us on in that era. First season at Cardiff City Stadium for us as well. Not really seen much of an atmosphere like it since then. But yeah, some absolutely amazing ties that we've had between both clubs over the years.
Yeah, quite a few goals in some of them. More at your stadium, innit? There seems to be quite a lot of goals. And then it's when we play the King Power, it's like the odd goal or something like that come along. But what's your most memorable game away from the Kermagant playoff win? What's your most memorable Leicester Cardiff game?
Aside from what I will say has to be the Victor Camarasa one, to go a little bit niche, it's got to be when you guys beat us 1-0, just because of obviously the really sad occasion and also how phenomenal your fans were that day.
Respect that.
And I will always say it, you guys were the best fans that I have ever seen at the Cardiff City Stadium. Extremely loud, one of the greatest, the best away end displays I've ever seen, with a massive banner, all the white flags as well, just scarves, I should say. Absolutely fantastic. Great mutual respect between both fans. Our main supporters club actually gifted you a flag across the stadium as well. Absolutely fantastic. But aside from that, the Craig Bellamy one is also rememberable for also pushing us on for that promotion winning season.
Yep. Last time round at the King Power Stadium was that man, Victor Camarasa, from distance. There was just a thing in your mind that you're thinking, if Cardiff hit it from distance, they're going to get one, and they did. And then you're thinking, it's always less. Like I say, we beat Man City and Chelsea, and then that was a big win for you lot, wasn't it? That game. I don't think you lot could have forgot about that. To be fair, I mean, it was a big win for you lot on the away day form. Things in that season, you would say things were not really going well at that point of the season for you lot, and then you come to Leicester and get all 3 points in the fashion that you did.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I had a hunch that we were going to get a point out of this game, just with the way that we'd sort of been improving our performances recently. Like, we've just given Tottenham a really good game as well at Cardiff City Stadium, beating Southampton. So our home record was rather all right. However, we were still hunting for that first away win. And I was absolutely shocked that we got it out of the former Premier League champions from a few years prior. But Camarasa's stunning goal, quite a cagey affair throughout. I thought, okay, I'll be happy with a 0-0 here. And then Harry Arter plays it through. Side foot shot past Kasper Schmeichel. Yeah,
Leicester had chances that game. It just won't go in one of them games. But we're going to go on to foot in both camps, Nathan. We'll start with Greg Cunningham. At Leicester, he was quite decent on loan from Man City. He ended up, I think it was breaking his leg against Hull away. I think it was Liam Rosenior that day. He was a good left back for Leicester, Greg Cunningham. Did decent on loan. It was just a shame with the injury that obviously happened to him. But what was Greg Cunningham like as a Cardiff City player, mate?
So really, he was a rotation player. We actually signed him from Preston. When was it? Just as we got promoted to the Premier League. Yep. He played in the odd cup game and stuff like that, and really shadowing Joe Bennett, who at the time was a much more superior centre-back in that position and really provided the chances moreover than Greg Cunningham. Ends up going to Preston. So it was fairly average time for Greg at Cardiff, but he filled in where he could in that Premier League squad.
Yep. Next one, we're going to move on to a fan's favourite at Leicester City, and it's Sol Bamba. Scored that most memorable goal against Manchester City in the FA Cup in first few seconds of the game, and you're thinking, this guy's going to be good. He did score a fair share of goals for the Foxes. Great centre-off, Sol Bamba, proper loved by the fans, a popular name in Leicester fans' eyes, and he was a good centre-back, and he did well in the time when we had Yakubu, and I mean, them two linked up well. Sol Bamba were one of them who would bring the ball forward from defence, and he'd score goals as well, and I think he was a great signing. I think we signed him from Hibernian, and he did really well at the Foxes. What was your initial thoughts from Sol Bamba at Cardiff? Nath.
2 words to describe that man: club legend. I mean, when he came in on a free transfer from Leeds under the Warnock days, started off like a house on fire, scoring against Bristol City in a derby. I mean, imagine entering your next club like that, automatically won over with the fans, put in some amazing performances, and was absolutely key on getting us back up to the Premier League. And that partnership with Sean Morrison comes up, was what, in my opinion, he was, I think, the best centre half in the out of the 3 promoted clubs that season in the Premier League. Was having a fantastic season, was captain for a bit as well while Sean Morrison was out injured. Had that really nasty ACL injury against Wolves, which sort of did derail his career a little bit. And then obviously had that really sad cancer diagnosis as well a few years back. And then obviously returned to the club with Sabri Lamucci to be his assistant manager. Once again, absolutely adored by the fans. What a player he was for Cardiff City.
What a unit as well. What a man. Lee Peltier did all right at Leicester. Remembered for that game against Coventry, where he scored the winner. Peltier was signed from Huddersfield, I believe, and I think Sven-Goran Eriksson brought him in. This guy, he was a decent right. I think he was decent fullback. Lee Peltier, very versatile as well. Did his job when needed to. It helped really well in like the attacking side of the game and that. But yeah, Lee Peltier at Cardiff.
One way you could describe him, he was absolutely hard as nails. I mean, that guy was so solid in defence. And if they said who tackles the hardest in training, who works the hardest, it was Lee Peltier. I believe it was Warnock who actually brought him to the club as a cover right back. We had Bruno Manga playing in that role. However, if Peltier was needed, say Warnock wanted to play a back 5, then he would fill in from there. He was just in general a really good squad player. And when Bamba did go out injured with that injury where Manga had to move across into centre back, he really fulfilled that right back role so well, especially in the Premier League as well, having some great games towards the end of that season, and continued the good form as well. Did go out the door at the end of his contract, but yeah, he was a solid player for Cardiff.
Next one, Filip Benkovic. It didn't really work out for him at Leicester, I'm afraid. He didn't really get the game time and that he wanted as a player. I just feel his career was very uncertainty at Leicester, to be fair. He got a few games, he was all right in spells when he did get the game time, but, I just don't think it was there, to be fair, as a player, I do feel he wanted to move out away from Leicester, to be fair, to another club. We obviously sent him out on loan to Cardiff. How did he get on in his loan at Cardiff?
Well, he was just a meme, wasn't he? So I don't think he actually played a match until about November. It was during the COVID season that we signed him. And there was like a massive campaign on Twitter because of how badly we were playing under Neil Harris, saying, start Benkovic, start Benkovic, start Benkovic, stop playing Aidan Flint. And then we do end up playing him against Wycombe Wanderers, and quite possibly has one of the worst mistakes I have ever seen at the back. I was like, oh my, this is one of the worst centre-back performances I've ever seen. So plays that one game, then gets injured in the same match, and we didn't see him in a Cardiff City shirt ever again after that one match.
No, I think we sent him to OH Leuven after you had him. He's a player. It's like, I don't think the mentality's there, is it? It never really worked out for him at either club. Ethan's in. How are you, mate? Straight back up, Leicester City. Yes, I bloody hope so. There's a long way to go, though. Still a long way to go in the season. Next one, Alex Smithies. I can't really comment on Alex Smithies apart from he sits on the bench at Leicester City. We brought him in on a free, but yeah, he was our third choice keeper last season. He's just there for experience to help the younger goalkeepers out. To be fair, Alex Smithies, proper championship goalkeeper. If you want to play with him in the championship, played for Huddersfield, Cardiff as well. Talk to me about Alex Smithies, mate.
So it's hard to say because he came in as Premier League cover for obviously Neil Etheridge, who had an absolutely fantastic season. Ended up selling Etheridge over to Birmingham City in the end. So really, it was a battle between Smithies and Dylan Phillips for that number 1 shirt. Harris and the likes of Harris and also Mick McCarthy persisted with Smithies for a little bit, but some terrible mistakes and performances. I got a lot of heat for one of my comments about him after the South Wales derby a few years back. I wasn't particularly the biggest fan of him, and I did prefer Phillips a lot more. And yeah, as Kian just said, massive wages which we did not need at all. So we end up releasing him at the end of that season, and obviously you guys pick him up in the end.
It's just one of them, and Alex Smithies, he sits on the bench. That's when I started the chant goes. Sits on the bench, 35 grand a week.
That's how much we were paying him to sit on our bench.
It's mad to be a bench warmer getting 35k. I mean, as a player, you definitely take it, but if you're looking at it from another view and you're not that person, it's like, why are you sitting on our bench? Like, get rid of him, innit? But yeah, Alex Smithies, he's doing all right, sitting on Leicester's bench and taking the money that Leicester's paying him. So, it's one of them, and I'm sure we'll sort the issue out at some point, but you never know. Nathan, team selection, mate. We'll start with you for Cardiff City. Pick your formation and pick your starting 11.
So I think it's going to go one of two ways. And to be honest, I think it's going to flick in the game between a 4-3-3 and also a 4-2-3-1, depending on how attacking we go. So based on what we played recently, and Errol Bullock likes to stick to the same team. Very good point. I mean, you've got two very good keepers there at Leicester, but moving back on to Cardiff as well, was really impressed by your keeper signing in the summer as well. Can you just remind me of his name?
Matt Hermanson,
yes. Very, very good signing. But he's had a really good start to the season as well. Was impressed with him in that Coventry game. But moving back to Cardiff anyway.
Yep.
So I'm going to go for Jack Anick in goal. Unless there's rumours or murmurings that we're going to get.
Is he related to Ben Anick by any chance?
I don't know, to be honest.
I'm not sure on that because we had Ben Anick at Leicester on loan. We had like 6 goalkeepers in one season. I think it was in League One. I don't know if he's related to him. I don't know if that's something you can look up. Nathan's having a look. I think it's best to put it to bed while it's there. Obviously, you hear these surnames and you think, could he be related to that player? I mean,
he is related to Ben Anick.
He is. Is it his brother? Is it?
He is the younger brother of Ben Anick.
Younger brother. There we are. Ben Anick, former Leicester goalkeeper on loan from Tottenham.
Fantastic.
See what I mean? It's learning. Now, when I heard the name Ben Anick, Jack Anick, I was thinking, surely he's related to Ben Anick. But it's good for Leicester fans to find this information out. So there you go, Leicester fans. An ex-goalkeeper who played for us. His brother's going to be playing against Leicester at the weekend.
Fantastic. So moving on to the back four, I think it's going to be pretty standard of what we've played recently. So I'm going to go for Perry Ng at right back, then a defensive partnership of Demetrius Gutas and also Mark McGuinness, who signed a 4-year deal today. And then at left back, my head says it's going to be Callum O'Dowda, but with his performance against QPR, I have a feeling it's going to be Jamodu Collins. And then moving on to the midfield three, apparently Joe Rolls is going to be back from injury, which is a massive boost to us. So I'm going to go Joe Rolls, Ryan Wintle, and then Aaron Ramsey in that number 10.
Yeah.
Then I think this is the big elephant in the room because Colin Grant was absolutely terrible in the last game. So I'm probably going to go Josh Bowler, Ike Ogbo, and Keona Tete to start up front.
Interesting. I think you lot be used to a bloody Michael Chopper back up front for you lot. I think prime Michael Chopper for you lot was good. Do you know what I mean? He can bang in the goals, Michael Chopper.
I mean, even as a 40-year-old, I still have him in the Cardiff team today with some of the strikers we've had over the last few years.
What's your initial thoughts on Danny Ward, Nathan? From obviously you're a Wales fan, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, what's your initial thoughts on Danny Ward? Obviously, Leicester fans want him gone. You know, they'd pay for his taxi fare if they could to get him gone. But you know, I just think Danny Ward, he sat behind Schmeichel, didn't he, for 4 years? Signed for £12 million from Liverpool. He's always been a number 2. He's a good penalty shot stopper, but I guess that's all he adds to his game, really. To be fair, he does get beat at his near post quite a lot. There is quite a lot of mistakes in Danny Ward. Hennessy got ahead of Danny Ward, didn't he, for the Wales team at one point. Talk to me about Danny Ward. Do you rate him as a goalkeeper, or do you think he's Premier League standard, or where do you go with the whole Danny Ward situation? What's your actual thoughts?
As you said, pretty 50-50, because obviously in the early 2010s, we did have Hennessy as the number 1 for Wales.
Yeah.
But obviously, as Ward built up his Preggers degree, signed for you guys, he did end up becoming Wales' number 1. However, as you said, welcome in. But as you said, he does have he does have the mistake in him, and obviously we've seen it a lot in Wales games. Beaten at near post, incorrect positioning, distribution can be a bit 50-50 as well at times. Yeah. And over time, he has fizzled out, and we have let Hennessy come back into the goals. But I think for him to kickstart his career again, I do think there's Premier League potential in there. However, he does need that move away.
He's got to leave.
Yeah, he does need to leave Leicester for me and find that club that's going to use him as the number 1, to iron out his mistakes, and he can push back on in his career.
He always seems to be that goalkeeper, though, who would happily sit on the bench. If you had so much potential as a keeper, you'd want to move on and go and play number 1 elsewhere. Obviously, he's a big Wrexham fan, isn't he? You know, Wrexham can have him if they offered us the money. You know what I mean? I'm sure Leicester fans would accept that. But yeah, I think with Danny Ward, there's quite a lot of uncertainty about his future. You look at it this season, Stolasic has started ahead of him. Mads Hermansen started ahead of him, but he's still the number one T-shirt fella, should we call him, at Leicester. He's just got the number 1 still as the number. But to be fair, Leicester fans don't rate him. I mean, he did keep a couple of clean sheets last season when the defence looked a bit more solid. But yeah, I just think with Ward, you know, he needs to leave Leicester, to be fair. If Maresca obviously doesn't rate him, so if Maresca doesn't rate him, then you're thinking to yourself, get on the phone to your agent and go and get a move. But it's actually which clubs are actually going to be interested in bringing him in as number 1, because he's not going to sit there as number 2, is he?
No chance. And not only that as well, it's who's going to pay his wages too, and really guarantee that. Welcome in, and hope you're having a good one. It's really just a case of whether if he is going to maintain that number 1 shirt at whatever club he goes to next, and if they'll pay his wages, if they're in a situation where he can get back up to the Premier League and get those consistent minutes. So there's a load of catch-22s there. However, is his future there settled at Leicester? No. Absolutely no chance, especially when, if it keeps going the way it's going, Enzo Maresca is going to be with you guys for a few years.
Ward's the reason we'll play Cardiff this year.
Wow. Wow.
What a statement. I mean, I don't know. When Schmeichel left, it was due to I think it all started from the season before. He was going to play his 250th game against Watford, but then Brendan Rodgers, 250 straight games it was, but Brendan Rodgers at 249 games, Kedge, Kasper Schmeichel, Danny Ward's going in goal, and you're thinking as a goalkeeper, you're taking the piss here. And, you know, I think this is where it all escalated from that point. And then, you know, Schmeichel had that fallout with, obviously, Schmeichel and that. Schmeichel ended up going to Nice for £1 million, and you're thinking, the leader's leaving, the backbone in this team who can lead this squad is leaving the football club, and that's a massive news to come out, thinking, why is Kasper Schmeichel leaving Leicester City? And what was your initial thoughts on it, Nathan? I mean, Brendan Rodgers then decided to go with, you know what, we're going with Danny Ward in goal. Danny Ward were injured in pre-season and, you know, never really given... He's had a handful of cup games, but yeah, he ain't a number 1. But what was your initial thoughts on the Schmeichel saga?
I was actually quite shocked when the news came out, and I was just thinking to myself, how have Leicester let him go for such a low fee as well, and just very, very suddenly, and even with his exit posts and stuff like that, you could see from so far away that something has happened off the pitch, and we have seen it in a lot of different Brendan Rodgers teams as well. We've seen it when he was at Liverpool. He did obviously walk away from Swansea as well, which was always fantastic to see when he did end up getting them up as well. But yeah, there's
the saga of not dropping him, stubbornness from Brendan Rodgers.
Very stubborn.
Yeah. My team to play Cardiff. I've gone with Hermanson in goal. I've gone for a back three of Doyle, Vestergaard, and Watt-Fass. I thought they had a fantastic game against Huddersfield. Harry Winks and Ricardo Pereira. I've gone for Mavididi, Keenan Dewsbury-Hall, Cassidy, and Madavadua. And I've gone for Kelechi Iheanacho. So I've gone for a 3-2-4-1, which obviously it will be when we are at, that's when we're actually in possession of the ball. But when we're out of position, we seem to switch quite a bit formation. So it's which one's going to fit. I mean, Leicester seem, with Vestergaard, it's the case of, he's not trusted because of his pace. But if you put the ball in the air and that, he's all right. It's just when players are bloody running him. And I think Cardiff are going to be one of them teams who will try and hit Leicester over the top, who will try and aim for Vestergaard because he's the weakest point with his pace. Is that how you see getting goals past Leicester?
100% can, especially with the dribbling and also pace capabilities of Josh Bowler as well. If we can get Rambo on the ball, get him playing a nice through ball, maybe in or around Vestergaard, let Josh Bowler work his magic onto the end for EK Ogbo or even Carlon Grant. If he actually has a good game, then we can see how it goes from there.
Yeah, agreed. Score prediction, guys. Get your score predictions in. Let me know which way you think this one's going. Will it be 3 wins from 3 for the Foxes in the league? That is the big question. The Bluebirds visit the King Power Stadium. Nathan, what's your thoughts ahead of this one, mate? And what's your score prediction?
I'll absolutely take a draw here, to be honest, especially with the way that sort of we started the season and how tricky the fixtures have been for us. But I'll absolutely rip your arm off for a draw. But if I had to say a realistic prediction, I do think you guys will end up winning this one. However, I've got to be confident and say 1-1.
1-1. Do you think Cardiff will score against Leicester then?
I hope so, and I got a feeling it's going to be another screamer, and it'll be a screamer from Aaron Ramsey as well. As for you guys, goal scorer, he's going to have continuous great starts to the season. I'm going to go for Mavididi.
Mavididi. Nathan, answer that door, mate. I don't know who.
I don't know. Maybe
where'd you get that from? 5-1 Leicester, but you've gone big in this one. 3-1 to the Foxes. Cardiff will score because they played really well against Leeds. But at the last minute, they've conceded. At least they got a point. 4-2 to Leicester. I'm in between two minds here, Nathan. I mean, we kept a clean sheet at the weekend. You'd obviously want to go and keep a clean sheet again. I'm between 2-0 and 3-1, to be fair, for this one. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with, I'm not really sure. 2-0 or 3-1. Do I think we'll keep a clean sheet against Cardiff? There's a big possibility we can if we defend it the right moments of the game like we did against Huddersfield. So, yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go 2-0, Nathan. 2-0 Leicester.
Fascinating.
I'm going to go 2-0 to the Foxes. Hopefully we can keep that clean sheet, but we'll see. Nathan, shout out your channel, mate, before you go, pal.
Yeah, so NWM, I'll just do Cardiff vlogs and stuff like that. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it is right by there. And thanks for having me on.
Go on, Jack. 3-1. Yeah, you go with 3-1, Kian. Thanks for coming on, Nathan. Really appreciate it, mate. And all the best for the rest of the season after Saturday, pal.
Absolutely, and you guys as well. And more than likely can see you winning the league.
Let's see. Cheers, Nathan.
Absolutely.
That was Nathan from NWM YouTube. Thanks for him for coming on. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I was a bit stuck in between two minds of 2-0 and 3-1, but I think I'm going to go for a 2-0 Leicester win. Hi, Jack. Are you doing your final whistle videos from next season and the rest of? Well, simple question. Yes. Jack, your vlogs are the best ever. Love them. Appreciate that, mate. Take care. What's coming up on the final whistle? So we have got the championship predictions, week 3 tomorrow night from 7 o'clock. So join me for the championship predictions as we predict all the fixtures. We'll obviously talk about Leicester Cardiff again. So we can't change it. We can't change the prediction. We're going to have to go with the same prediction as this show. So you'll know what my prediction is going to be. But also go and check out the EFL Championship Forum as well. Go and check that out. That is on the channel now. We had Ant from Hullenbach. We had Martin on as well from Football Martin. We had Sportser on as well. Go and check out that on the channel, the EFL Championship Forum, talking all things the Championship. Hopefully we can get that weekly. 3-1, Cardiff, another one for your out team. No, we're not doing that again, Ronnie. We'll be there. Take care. Yep. See you, mate. Have a good one. But no, that is it from me. Guys, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed to the final whistle, please go and do so. It helps out massively. And then take care. And I'll see you again at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Bye-bye. Hi all, thank you for watching the final whistle. If you enjoy all our content, please remember to smash a like, share and subscribe to the channel.